We're back with another transfer portal update, and man, do we need one, because I think close to 2,000 college basketball players are now in the transfer portal in just over a week of the portal being open. I mean, this is crazy, and that includes our first ever, kind of crazy, but our first ever double return transfer. And what that means is basically Meechie Johnson did it. He started his career at Ohio State for 2 years, transferred to South Carolina, stayed there for a year, transferred back to Ohio State for a year, and now is going back to South Carolina. So he returned to Ohio State, which was his original team out of high school, and then now he is returning to South Carolina. Now, we have seen players return to their old school before through the transfer portal after deciding maybe the grass wasn't so green on the other side, but to do it twice to two different teams, that is pretty crazy. First ever, I believe, double return home transfer there with Meechie Johnson. How he has a 6th year of eligibility, I don't know. But to our other updates, from the last video, we had Donovan Dent, where surprisingly, I thought he was going to go to Kentucky. He ended up going to UCLA, so I actually like that a lot for him. I think that they are going to play through him. He's really going to be able to thrive there. Love the fit. Donovan Dent to UCLA. Trayson Eaglestaff, this was a shocker, went to South Carolina. Again, I thought there was a chance he could go to Kentucky, but I was more so leaning, I thought he was going to go to Alabama. Ended up at a different SEC school in South Carolina, so the Gamecocks got a good one there out of the Summit League. Elliot Cadeau transferred to Michigan. They were on my short list for him. I was thinking either Auburn or Michigan for Elliot Cadeau. Michigan there. They get them a heck of a point guard. If he can tone it down on the turnovers a little bit, he can actually be a very, very good point guard. And then Bryce Hopkins. This one surprised me. I said in the video it was between Georgetown or St. John's. I thought he was going to return to play for his former coach and Ed Cooley at Georgetown. No, ended up going to St. John's to play for Coach Pitino. So that is very interesting there. A combination of him and Zuby Ejiofor down low in the front court. Going to be very scary there for the Johnnies next season. And then we got Pop Isaacs, who did commit to Ole Miss to play for Chris Beard. So interesting combination there. Going to be a very good shooter for the Rebels next season. Oscar Clough, again, like Bryce Hopkins, I was pretty sure he was down to Iowa State or Purdue, down to two teams. He ended up going to Purdue. So I was kind of wrong on that. I thought that he was going to go to Iowa State, but no, he ends up at Purdue. Another very good, talented big man for Matt Painter to work with there on the Boilermakers. And players that haven't committed yet that were in last video, Josh Dix, he's down to pretty much 3 teams. I don't think he's returning to Iowa anymore. I think it's down to Kansas, Creighton, or Illinois. I would assume Kansas is offering him a ton of money, so right now I would maybe crystal ball him there for now, but I definitely think Creighton and Illinois both have a shot. And Isaac McNeely, Tennessee has really heated up on Isaac McNeely. They're also going after another player that we will be talking about on the list that is a new player that wasn't in the last video, but Tennessee, Louisville, North Carolina. I think it's between Tennessee in Louisville. I don't think Isaac McNeely is going to go to North Carolina. I could be wrong, but those 3 teams are definitely, in my opinion, the final 3 for McNeely. Whoever gets him is getting an absolute stud and a very good shooter. We're caught up from last week's players and where they committed to or what teams they are down to. Let's talk about 8 new players that enter the transfer portal that all are going to have a significant impact on whichever team they wind up on. I just want to say subscribe if you guys are new. Hit that like button if you guys enjoy. We're going to pump out these transfer portal updates probably more often, at least 2 a week. So definitely subscribe, and a ton of college basketball content also here on the channel. Let's get into number 8. So coming in here at number 8, we do have transferring from Georgia, a very good guard. There's a lot of really good guards and really good players in general in this portal class, and that is Silas DeMary Jr. He averaged 13 points per game and 4 rebounds a game for the Georgia Bulldogs last season, and it's pretty clear cut. His dad actually confirmed this with, I think, John Rothstein, that he has 3 visits and 1 virtual visit. So that is St. John's, UConn, BYU are his in-person visits, and I think he has a virtual meeting with Duke. And I assume that could be because they are still in the tournament playing in the Final Four. Maybe he can't visit on campus because Coach Shire and company aren't going to be there, or maybe the other three are a step ahead of Duke at this point. I'm going to crystal ball him here to St. John's. I think that St. John's has a real shot at getting Silas DeMary, and he could fit there really well under Rick Pitino. So that's where I'm going to predict him to go, but I see him playing for St. John's over these other three teams. Next up, coming in here at number 7, he was a sophomore last year, playing for the Maryland Terrapins. He was part of the Crab Five, and that was Rodney Rice. Now, Rodney Rice had a pretty good breakout season this year and became a really good shooter for this Maryland team, playing on the wing. So he was averaging 13 points per game, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists. And like I said, he is a very, very good shooter. And there's a ton of teams going after Rodney Rice right now. The list is too long right now, and I haven't seen any confirmed visits or him cutting down his list at all. The 3 teams to keep your eye out on getting Rodney Rice are UConn, Indiana, and BYU. I've also seen some talk about Michigan, but until he cuts down his list, I don't really have a crystal ball for him at this point. There are a ton of other teams going after Rodney Rice right now, so that will be something to keep a lookout on and hopefully have a better update for you guys in the next video. But coming in here at number 6, this is a good one. Whoever gets him is getting a stud. From UCF, Keyshawn Hall averaged 18 points per game and 7 rebounds last year for Central Florida, and a very good wing. And there are a lot of teams going after him, and I would say the top teams going after him right now are going to be Kentucky, Kansas, Memphis, Arkansas, and UConn. Those 5 teams I think have a legit shot at him, but he is another player that is going to have to cut down his list a little bit. But the main teams I'm seeing going after him right now are Kentucky and Kansas, and then, like I said, also Arkansas, Memphis, and UConn. If I had to make a prediction right now, way too early prediction on Keyshawn Hall, I'd say Kentucky or Kansas. I think both of them are going to throw a lot of money at Keyshawn Hall this offseason. But next up, coming in here at number 5, we have a player that just entered the portal actually yesterday from Pitt, and that is Jalen Lowe. Now, Jalen Lowe, not the most efficient player, but averaged a 16 points per game, 5 assists per game, and 4 rebounds per game, and a very good tall point guard, and I thought was going to be a pretty good NBA draft prospect this year. It looks like he's going to return to college, but not to the Pitt Panthers. Like I said, he was only a sophomore last season, a ton of potential in there. I think that he can be a more efficient scorer and hopefully work on that 3-point shot that can really take him to the next level, and he could really break out as a star if he gets to the right team this year. But since it is so early, he just entered the portal, I think like 10 or 11 hours before I'm recording this video. There are no confirmed teams that I've seen heavily pushing to go after him right now, but I expect there to be a long list. Definitely a player to keep an eye out on a future update, which teams are going after him. Next up at number 4, we have a transfer from Vanderbilt, and that is going to be Jason Edwards, the leading scorer for Vandy last season, averaged 17 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist. Really a pure scorer. Wasn't doing much rebounding, wasn't doing much passing there, but a ton of teams. A return to Vandy is not out of the question. I have heard also Louisville who has already picked up 2 really good players in Ryan Conwell from Xavier and Adrian Woolley as well from Kennesaw State. 2 awesome pickups, and they are very much in the mix for Isaac McNeely as well. They are looking at Jason Edwards as well. Also Miami, West Virginia, and Minnesota keeping their eye out on Jason Edwards as well. There is a long list of teams going after Jason Edwards right now, so we're going to have to wait for him to cut that down for us or maybe make some official visits. That would help us a lot there for crystal balling Jason Edwards. But next up, coming in here at number 3, and the top 3 players are all going to be huge difference makers next year, assuming they don't enter the NBA draft. This one I feel pretty confident about returning to college, and that is Jacoby Gillespie, another member of the Crab Five who has entered the transfer portal since his head coach has up and left for Villanova. But he was a great guard on this Maryland team, averaging 14 points per game, 5 assists, and 2 rebounds. And it is really looking like he might head to Tennessee next season, and that would be pretty interesting. Tennessee has had a very good success rate the last 2 years with the transfer portal, getting Dalton Connect from Northern Colorado 2 years ago, and then last year getting Chaz Lehner out of the transfer portal from North Florida. Both have become stars on this Tennessee team. Gillespie is more of an established star already who could really thrive in that Tennessee mold, and they are going to need some guards after losing Zakai Ziegler and Chaz Lehner. So I could really see him going to Tennessee, and that is really the team I'm going to crystal ball into. I'm going to say he's going to go to Tennessee. I could also see an outside shot of Villanova getting him if he does want to return to play for his head coach, but I think he is going to go to Tennessee. Next up at number 2, and you could argue this might be the best player in the portal. He is a guy who is going to be testing the NBA draft, and that is Yaxel Lindenborg. He averaged 17 points per game, 11 boards a game, and 4 assists a game as a big man. Also put up 2 blocks and 2 steals a game. What a player for UAB, for the Blazers last season. Such a good player. And like I said, he is going to test the NBA draft waters as he should. He was an absolute beast this year for the Blazers. The main teams I see going after him, there are 4 teams I think have a shot at him. Kentucky is in the mix for him as well. And I think that Kentucky might be the favorites to land Yaxel Lindenberg this offseason. Also, Michigan. I think if he doesn't go to Kentucky or Michigan, I honestly might be very surprised. I think it is going to end up being one of those teams, but the other 2 teams that have a shot at him are going to be Auburn and Alabama. Auburn and Alabama both have a shot at him as well, but I am going to crystal ball him to Kentucky. I think that they are really pushing after him heavily right now, but I could also see him going to Michigan. I'm going to make my prediction to Kentucky, though. And our number 1 player in the transfer portal is a player from St. John's, Big East Player of the Year, R.J. Lewis. Now, R.J. Lewis had a phenomenal season. 18 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, was a great wing for this St. John's team, was really the only true shooter that they had on the team, and shooting isn't even the best thing that R.J. Lewis does. He is just one of the only players that could do it for the Red Storm, and he got benched in that round of 32 game against Arkansas. And is that causing him to enter the transfer portal? Does he not want to play for Rick Pitino anymore? I'm not sure. Right now, there are no teams that I can confirm are heavily pushing going after RJ Lewis, because I think he really is 100% serious in testing the NBA draft. And will he return to college? I'm not sure. If he does return to college, will he be back at St. John's? I think that there is a possibility of that, but that is definitely something to keep an eye out on. See if he doesn't enter the NBA draft. I believe he will be the top transfer portal player in this year's class, and we'll have a ton of teams looking at getting him. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Let me know what you guys think about all these players. Do you guys think that your team is going to pick up any of these players? And where do you guys think RJ Lewis ends up if he doesn't wind up going to the NBA draft and declaring? If he does return to college, where do you think he's going to play? Is he going to return to St. John's? Is he going to go to another team? I'm very much looking forward to that update, and hopefully he does return to college, because he is awesome to watch. I would love to see him play for a different team, or even just return to St. John's next year, because they got an awesome lineup there for next season. So if he does return, that could be a very scary team next year once again in the Big East. So let me know what you guys think, guys. Subscribe if you guys are new. Ton of more portal updates coming your way, and more college basketball content, of course. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching.